the 35C, if at any point in the process the seller wants to give permission and request a portion, a portion or all of the inspection report, they can use this form, select the box that they want, and send it to the buyer.
Is there some kind of strategy? Because on the actual Form 35, you can select how you want to receive the inspection report in item number 4, but I hardly ever see that checked. So is there some strategy as to why people don't select that and prefer to do the form that you have up on your screen?
Yeah. So in the Form 35, like you said, there are these 3 same check boxes that a seller can check at the time of completing the original Form 35. I have my opinion and my answer to that, but I want to ask some of you agents, what has been your experience? Why have you not completed it on the 35, but instead used the 35C?
So I think for me, by not filling it out on the 35 and waiting until you see the request, it gives the seller more control. So for example, I recently had a listing where nothing came back from the inspection, and I don't necessarily need to see the inspection report because they didn't request any repairs. And on another one, they basically requested everything that was in the inspector's report, even though a lot of it was cosmetic and a lot of it was totally irrelevant and not within the scope of what an inspector is capable of assessing. But by filling out the 35C instead of the 35R, I can say, okay, send me what the inspector said about these 6 out of the 17 items, and we'll look at that.
Great, thank you, Hal. And that would be, it kind of goes back to, why do we even have to have sellers consent to send them a portion of the inspection report or all of it? And it goes back to when buyers brokers would send them the entire inspection, and because if a seller receives an inspection report, they have to provide that to a future buyer with the Form 17 as part of the seller's disclosure. So what would happen is the buyer's agent would send the entire inspection report and say, we're only asking for 5 of these items, but if you don't give them to us and we terminate, you've got to share this entire inspection report with the next buyer. And so that's why we even have this in there. Anybody else? Why do you, or maybe you do complete it on the 35 and don't use the 35C? Why do you do it one way or the other? Anybody else? All right. So really it's because your seller, like Hal said, your seller has more control if you wait until you get the request from the buyer and then say, yeah, we would like to see those items. Because in the example Hal used, maybe a buyer requests every item that is on the inspection. Maybe your seller doesn't want the entire inspection report. They just want to see 1 or 2 items that they might repair. So does that answer your question, Stephanie?
It does. Thank you.
You bet. It's a great question. Some from a buyer's side, why not? I mean, some buyer's agents will check it that the seller consents to receiving the inspection report when they submit the offer. From a seller's side, you probably want to give that consent later and not before the inspection's even been done.